On my left is the new Land Rover Discovery Sport, a premium compact SUV with 7 seats. On my right is the new Kia Sorento, a 7-seater SUV that its makers would like you to believe is as premium as a BMW or indeed a Land Rover. On paper, the Sorento is both bigger and cheaper than the Discovery Sport, so in theory it should be the SUV of choice for big families. But is that the case in practice? Let's find out. Obviously, a big thing with both of these cars is how much space they offer. We know they've both got 7 seats, but let's have a quick look with the seats down, see how much boot space they've got. As you can see, even with that in, this is a big boot in the Land Rover. Is it as big as the Kia? Let's find out. You only need to look at the Sorento to realise that it is a bigger car, but it's when you open this boot, you realise it's not only slightly bigger, it's vastly bigger. This is a much more practical vehicle. Next, we're going to look at how you get this third row of seats in place, starting with the Discovery. And the first thing to note is that in the Kia, you can take this parcel shelf and put it under the floor. In the Land Rover, you can't, so I don't know, you leave it in your hall or something. Just pull these straps here and out these fold, nice and easy. Obviously, you've got a bit of a boot there, but not much. Back with the Sorento, as we've already said, this parcel shelf slots under there, which is really neat. And then it's just a case of pulling the straps, much like in the Land Rover. And hey presto, you have a 7-seater, only this time you've got a slightly bigger boot space still. Right, back with the Discovery Sport, and let's actually see how easy it is to access these rear seats, bearing in mind I am a good 20 years older than most people will probably be using them. Right, I'm in, it wasn't too difficult, and actually I've slid this second row forward a bit, and there's a decent amount of knee room. My knees are kind of really up around my chest, and headroom is okay, but for occasional use it's going to be absolutely fine, to be honest. Other neat touches, there is a little heater control here with air vents and USB sockets so you can keep your phone charged up. Now for the Kia, you can slide these seats backwards and forwards, but actually because it's such a big car you don't really need to. I'll climb in. It's not really any harder or any easier than the Land Rover to access these seats. Put that seat back. There is a fraction more leg room here, but obviously there's more in the second row. Headroom's about the same, and again, heater control, but no USB this time. And something I really should mention here is that the seats are a lot more substantial, a lot more comfortable, and you don't have your knees quite so much up around your chest. In both cars, there's ample room in the second row of seats for 3 adults. Plus, you can fold all of the seats flat to create huge load bays. Up front, meanwhile, the Kia's large touchscreen and good levels of fit and finish make it a pleasant place to be, although we have to say it still lacks the Land Rover's functional yet stylish layout, now complete with a new infotainment system. We're starting off driving the Discovery Sport. Now obviously I'm not going to pretend that this is a small car, but compared with the Sorento it does feel pretty wieldy. It's also actually really good fun. The steering's nicely weighted, and although Land Rover's obviously had to make suspension quite stiff to stop it rolling around too much in corners, the ride is still very good. It's a very comfortable car, particularly once you're out of town and on the open road. It's really impressive. The Land Rover is powered by a 2.2 litre diesel engine. This car is matched with a 9-speed automatic gearbox. You can have a 6-speed manual, but to be honest, this 9-speed is really superb and it's worth spending the extra on. There's enough power, 0 to 60, about 9.5 seconds, which is the same as the Kia. So while it's not outright fast, it is quick enough and there's enough mid-range torque. It is, however, a little bit noisy at town speeds, and on the motorway you get a bit of tyre roar as well. Coincidentally, the Kia is also powered by a 2.2 litre diesel engine, although it's actually a little bit quieter, a little bit smoother at low speeds than the Land Rovers. It's about the same in terms of performance, and you can have an automatic gearbox, although with this one we've got a 6-speed manual, and I have to say it's actually a bit clunky. The Sorento is also comfortable on a long journey thanks to its soft suspension and well-controlled road noise. Where the Kia can't match the Land Rover, and by quite some margin, is in how enjoyable it is to drive. The steering feels numb and artificially weighted, the suspension is soft, but the ride's actually worse. You feel a lot more of the bumps, and you also get more body lean in corners. And while it's good for a long journey, perhaps the best way you could sum it up is it lacks the feel-good factor that you get with the Land Rover. It just doesn't feel fundamentally as well sorted. I'm going to throw some numbers at you now, starting with price. The Sorento costs just under £29,000, which is about £3,500 cheaper than the Land Rover. You also get a 7-year warranty with the Kia as opposed to the Land Rover's 3. The Kia even beats the Land Rover for towing with a 2,500 kilo limit versus the Discovery Sport's 2,200 kilos. Both will return about 35 miles per gallon in normal driving. You could quite reasonably argue that by being bigger and cheaper than the Discovery Sport, the Kia is also the right car for you. And if that is your point of view, then I'm sure you would be very happy with it. It is a good car. However, I don't think people buy 7-seater SUVs without an element of heart-ruling head. And that's where Land Rover has been so clever with its Discovery Sport. Because by combining that premium badge with that sharp styling and the versatility of having 7 seats, it really has got all bases covered. Yes, it's more expensive, but I really do think it's worth it. As ever, you can read detailed reviews of both of these cars and many more by clicking up here to go to the Telegraph Cars website. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking up here.